Hey guys, welcome to Commander Lounge. Today we have a deck tech on Pauper. Sorry it's not Commander, but I felt like doing Pauper deck tech, and it's going to be on blue-green Infect. And if you guys don't know what Infect is, the strategy is you use these Infect creatures to deal 10 damage to win the game, because they deal damage and poison. You only need 10 of those to win the game, which is absurdly broken to do, especially in a green deck where you have a ton of pump spells. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's broken. It's Infect. No, but not a lot of people likes Infect outside of competitive play. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why Skithrix or Skittles or whatever you want to call it gets hated off the commander table every time it gets seen at the commander table. It makes sense. But anyways, let's get into the deck tech. We start out with 2 Evolving Wilds. And the reason why we run Evolving Wilds is because not only does it thin our deck, but it also triggers our Groundswell, which is a landfall pump that pumps for extra once the landfall happens. So late game, you can hold on to you won't crack an Evolving Wild till next turn. Like if you were doing some shenanigans and doing some Groundswell shenanigans late game with it. So sorry if I didn't explain that too good, but whatever. It's sad that we have to use. We don't run a full playset because it's bad to in something this aggressive, in a deck this aggressive, because you're sacking and the lands are coming into play tapped. You don't like that, but that's what Pauper has to work with, so we're using them. If we could use if the what is it, the enemy fetches or whatever, or just the the pay 1 life fetch lands were there, we'd be using them in a heartbeat, and we'd be using a full playset of them. But until they make that common, which will never happen, we have Evolving Wilds. So I'll have Evolving Wilds for a second. I believe we run 6 islands. Love the art of these islands. Infect at the beach. And then we run, I believe it's 10 Forest. And then we go into our first Infect creature, which is Glistener Elf. This is your ideal turn 1. When you see this in your starting hand, you are more likely to win. It's especially if you're on the play. You're probably definitely going to win if you start out with him. Glistener Elf is just a powerhouse. A 1-drop, 1/1 Infect. I don't think Wizards was thinking when they made this guy, because he is ridiculous. But yeah, gotta run the full playset. Makes sense. It's insane. And then we go into Blighted Agent, the reason why you play blue. Make an unblockable 1/1 Infect is the next broken thing you can get to for 2 mana. It's absurd. There's a lot of people that play I think on MTGO, they play the mono green version, which is a more tramply stompy version, but I think the unblockable version is just hilarious, and it's just so good. I just think it's ridiculous, and I love the art of this crazy looking rogue. Nutter Butters. So yeah, I run 4 of him, and then we go into Ichorclaw Mirror, where your backup is really good. Like, it does a bunch of combat shenanigans, because when it becomes block, like maybe it's taking out a creature, and even if it's not taking out a creature, it's putting a whole bunch of -1/-1 counters on it, making sure it's not big anymore. It's just really good. It's very very aggressive. Not many people want to lose creatures to him, but then they go, wait, this is an Infect deck, we have to. So it kind of forces the creatures to get kind of debuffed or killed right away. And then Blade Mamba is in here. It's your late game. Okay, now I may have to be blocking and regenerating with him, kinda. It's when you're off the aggressive strategy. I mean, it could still be a nice 2-drop, 1/1 Infect, but this is when you get more when you're getting more late game, and you're just like, crap, I'm up against it now. So most of the time you'll probably be losing the game anyways. It's just your backup Infect creature for 2. Yeah, but it's pretty good. I like it a lot better. I know some people run the Rot Feaster thing or whatever, the wolf one. I forgot what it does though, but that's 3 mana, and I thought that was way too much mana for a deck like this. So yeah, stuck with the 2 mana. I got 3 of those Blight Mambas. And we go into Brainstorm. Brainstorm is so important in this deck. It is in the Legacy Infect builds for a reason, because it draws you everything you need. It gives you all the gas you need. You're not good on creatures turn 1. You don't have your turn 1 Glistener Elf, and you don't have any creatures in your hand. Brainstorm, you'll find it. You know, you need that extra pump spell to make sure you win on turn 3 or turn 2. Go for it. It's just nuts. Like, you can win on turn 2 in this deck. It's ridiculous. I think that's the fastest you can win in this deck is turn 2, and that's crazy in Pauper. It's pretty good. So we run a full playset of Brainstorms, and we go to Mutagenic Growth. We run a full playset because if you ever have a starting hand, never had this, but if you ever have a starting hand with a Glistener Elf and 4 Mutagenic Growth, you're probably winning the game on turn 2. Actually, I'm pretty sure you're winning the game on turn 2. It's just crazy. Mutagenic Growth, a free pump spell, is ridiculous. It is broken. Phyrexian mana, what is that about? I just can't understand that Wizards made Phyrexian mana a thing. Paying life to make something cost less. Using life as a resource is insanely good. Like, it's crazy. And I just think this card was pushed so hard, and that's why it's in every Infect deck. It's one of the best pump spells for Infect, because it's free, essentially free. And we go Giant Growth, just your standard, you know, +3/+3. You guys know what Giant Growth is. It is a staple unlimited. It is just a staple pump spell, period. It's just a great pump spell, which you gotta run the full playset. It's one mana. It goes in there. We got Groundswell. Groundswell is the better pump spell that you hope for in this deck because of the landfall. And this is where I'm talking about Evolving Wilds late game. You can not crack out Evolving Wilds till later, just to make sure you hit your landfall on Groundswell. It's really good. You know, being able to, I mean, +2/+2 is fine for one, but +4/+4 for one is broken, and that's why Groundswell's in here. And then we got my addition to it. Not many people run this in their Pauper decks, but I think it is amazing. Ever since I got whooped by this in my Gatecrash pre-release, I was just like, that's absurd for Infect. Like, yes, it's sorcery speed, which dims it down a good bit because you know it can get hated. But I mean, late game you can protect it if you need to protect it. It also depends on what deck you're facing, but this card is probably one of your biggest card that leads you to your turn 2 win. Because think, turn 1 Glistener Elf, turn 2, like, Phyto Burst it up, make it a 6/6, and if it doesn't have anything, like, that's, after that you only need 2 Mutagenic Growths, the Phyrexian mana pumps, to make this lethal. And that's why I run 3 of them. I was thinking about just doing 2 in a Titanic, but I'm actually just running 3 of them. Just because I'm all in. You know, I like decks that are really all in. And I love the art on the card too. It's crazy looking. But it's just such a cool card. I was so psyched when I saw that. I was like, ooh, Infect's got a new toy. You know, and then we have our quote-unquote, it's our protection/pump spell. It's mainly protection, because, you know, that's the biggest thing that this deck folds to is, you know, it's to, you know, a lot of removal, like heavy removal decks. You gotta protect your, it's almost like a combo deck, you know? You get one Infect out there and you're pretty much putting all your eggs in that basket and getting in there. Like, yeah, you can go wide, but you know, it's not the best thing to do. You really want to be winning on turn 2 or turn 3 with this deck, and this card keeps you from losing your creature, mainly. But it could also be a winner, and that's why it just does work in this deck, and that's why it has to be in this deck. You only run 2 because it's double green, and you're playing blue-green with only two ways of kind of fixing mana in your deck. And then we go with Apostle Blessing. This is almost like a Pauper staple for me because I play with a lot of things that are really all in on the creatures, like Delver Fiend and this deck. Apostle's Blessing is a staple for these decks because not only does it make your creature unblockable, but it can make your creature unblockable, but it also protects your creatures from removal for the most part, unless you're facing mono black. In that case, they're making you sacrifice, which sucks, but for the most part, it's good. It's just such an amazing card, and it's just so awesome. Phyrexian mana, broken. Like, it's just awesome. You gotta have these, and it's 3. I run 3 of these, and then after that, you just go to the pure unblockability. Distortion Strike is really good because it has rebound. You know, I can use them once, get in. You know, I don't even have to pump them up the first time. Just get in for 2 Infect, that's fine. And then rebound, it hits them again, and you get to get in again the next turn. It's just nuts. It's ridiculous. It's broken. So yeah, we're running 3 of those. So yeah, that is my Pauper Infect deck. Let's get to the sideboard now. Start out with War Aggro. If you guys don't know what that is, that's a green for 0/3. Then you can sacrifice it any times to give a creature +3/+3 and trample. Oh wait, it says play this ability only during upkeep. I did not know that. Whatever. I mean, it got a little worse now, but I mean, it still has to be played against the aggressive decks, I believe. Just being able to put on a turn 1 butt, if you can't put on Glistener Elf, it's good. It replaces your Giant Growth, because it basically is a Giant Growth. It's War Aggro. It's the more control-y card in your deck, just because it can block. So you run a full playset of that against the aggressive decks like Goblins, or I guess, well, Elves doesn't really care. But yeah, mainly against like Goblins and what else aggressive do we got? I mean, I guess you could put it against Elves. As you can see, I don't play this too much in my games, but it's whatever. It's a fun little deck. I mean, it's not tier 1 anymore because it gets crushed by mono black on MTGO, but whatever. By the way, I just got back on MTGO. Yay! I've been playing Pauper on there. Anyways, let's get into the next sideboard card, and that is Nature's Claim. This card is hilarious. This card yells, I love being an Infect player, because you destroy target artifact or enchantment for 1 mana, and the controller gains 4 life. We do not care about that second ability, because we are killing you with Infect. It's just nuts against affinity decks. It's mainly against affinity. It can also, I don't see too many Boggle decks, but you know, there's Aura decks that are running around. You can use Nature's Claim on that too. It's the automatic staple on Infect. It's so good. You gotta have 4 of also, because it crushes. And then we run Dispel, mainly for the Mono Blue Delver decks, control decks. You know, that's what the main thing, that's what the Dispels are mainly up for. We run 3 of those. Then we run Steady Progress. These are against control decks. Like when you just almost get there, and then they close your plants and kill all your creatures and stuff. You can still kind of try to get gas while also ticking up their poison. I only run 2 of these. I think it's the best thing we've got against control. Control's a tough matchup. It really is. Unless you have Explosive Start, they're gonna catch up. Alright, now Vines of the Vastwood. I got 1 of and 1 Apostle Blessing. You can't run a full playset of Vines, I don't think, in this deck, just because it's more heavy green. I mean, even though it's more heavy green, it's still 2 colors. So I was thinking, you know, against the more heavier, like burn decks and stuff like that, I think it's good to have an extra Apostle's Blessing, extra Vines of the Vastwood, which is also good. It's unblockability, and it's also pump, so it kind of evens out, I guess. Because it was originally 2 Vines, and I was like, nah, I was like, full playset of Apostle sounds good, but I should put in the sideboard. So that's how I sideboard it in this blue-green Infect deck. It is fun. It's a fun deck. It's not crazy competitive anymore because of mainly mono black control makes this deck its bitch. It's terrible. Like those witches that tap to deal 1 damage crushes this deck. And if that doesn't happen, he just makes you sacrifice your creatures with like Chainer's Edict or something like that. He just, you know, mono black's got removal for days, and it feels like mono black was made to laugh at this deck. And it really does. It's sad to say that it really does. I actually built that deck for my sister, and she crushes my Affinity deck every once in a while when we play. But yeah, it's still a fun deck to play. It's explosive. You're gonna have games where you just run away just because your hand is just golden. It's nuts. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think of this Pauper deck. Let me know what you guys think of Phyto Burst. Yeah, like, favorite, and subscribe. In the description below, I will have a link to the deck list. Probably set that out of context, but whatever. So yeah, like, favorite, and subscribe. Take it easy, guys, and bow bow.